Today, we're diving into one of the most incredible documents from the Middle Ages. Get this, it's the very first book in English that we know was written by a woman. Her name was Julian of Norwich, and she didn't write it based on years of study. Nope, she wrote it based on a series of intense, powerful visions she had while she was literally on her deathbed. So let me ask you a question, and it's a weird one. Why on earth would anyone pray to get sick? I mean, we spend our lives trying to avoid getting sick, right? Well, that strange question is the key to this whole story. It's where it all begins.
And there you have it, right from the source. At 30 years old, this woman we call Julian actually prayed for sickness, and not just a head cold. She prayed for an illness so devastating it would take her right to the edge of death. I know, it sounds absolutely wild, but for Julian, this was a deeply spiritual mission.
All right, so let's dig into this dangerous prayer. What exactly was she asking for, and why in the world would she want something so extreme? This wasn't about punishing herself. It was about a search for a kind of understanding you just can't get from books.
So her prayer basically had three parts, or three gifts as she saw them. First, she wanted to understand Christ's suffering, like to really feel it in her mind. Second, she wanted to feel it in her body, to get so sick that all her attachments to earthly life would just be burned away. And third, she asked for what she called the three wounds, to be truly sorry for her failings, to feel a deep compassion for everyone, and to have this all-consuming longing for God. She believed she had to go through incredible suffering to gain incredible insight.
Well, you know what they say. Be careful what you wish for. Her prayer was answered, and the answer was terrifying.
So when she was 30 and a half, it happened. She was struck by this violent illness. For 3 straight days, she just got worse and worse. By the 4th night, everyone, including her, thought this was it. The priest came, gave her the last rites. It was all over. Pretty soon, she couldn't even speak. Her breathing got shallow, and this cold numbness began creeping through her body.
That's how she described it herself. Can you imagine? Feeling the life just drain out of you? A kind of paralysis taking over from your feet upwards? She was, for all practical purposes, dying. Her prayer had been granted in the most complete and horrifying way. But right here, at the absolute edge of death, everything changes. As her own eyesight starts to fail, her gaze is locked on a crucifix the priest is holding. The room around her goes dark, everything else just fades away, but not the crucifix. She said it started to glow. And in that moment, as her body was shutting down, her mind was just waking up. The visions began. Over the next few hours, she experienced 16 different revelations or visions. We're just going to focus on one, but it's maybe her most famous. It's an idea that's so incredibly simple, yet it's about the entire cosmos.
In one of these visions, God shows her something small and ordinary, just resting in the palm of her hand, a hazelnut. And she's just looking at this tiny thing, and she's wondering, what could this possibly be? It seems so incredibly fragile, like it could crumble into nothing in a second.
And then boom, the understanding just floods into her mind in 3 simple truths. 1, God made it. 2, God loves it. And 3, God keeps it safe. The only reason this tiny, fragile thing even exists is because it is held in existence by divine love. And that's the mind-blowing part. That little hazelnut wasn't just a hazelnut. It was everything, the whole of creation, the stars, the planets, you, me, the whole shebang. And all of it, as fragile as it seems, is held together by one single force, love. That's the foundation of reality in her vision.
Now, this incredible vision of a universe just soaked in love, it led Julian to a conclusion that was, and I'm not exaggerating here, completely revolutionary for her time. It tackled one of the biggest, darkest questions in all of theology.
See, back in the 14th century, the popular view of sin was pretty terrifying. It was seen as this permanent stain on your soul, a cosmic crime that deserved endless punishment. But Julian's vision showed her something totally different. She saw that sin causes real pain, for sure, but that ultimately it has no real substance. That when you compare it to the vast, eternal ocean of God's love, sin is almost nothing at all. Okay, but wait a minute. It's the obvious question, right? One she asked herself. If God's love is everywhere, then what about evil? Why do such awful things happen? Exactly. And what about suffering? The very thing she'd prayed for. She saw firsthand how much pain there is in the world. So how can a universe supposedly held together by love have so much agony in it?
This was the answer she received in her vision, and it's so important to understand what it means. It's not a denial of pain. It's not a cheesy promise that nothing bad will ever happen. It's a statement of absolute radical trust. A promise that in the grand scheme of things, despite all the evidence we see, the universe ultimately bends towards goodness. That in the end, everything will be reconciled. Everything will be made right.
And that's the staggering thought Julian leaves us with, a message sent across 600 years from a deathbed. It's not an argument, it's an invitation. An invitation to look at our fragile, beautiful, and yes, often painful world, and just ask ourselves, what if? What if, underneath it all, the final truth isn't chaos or judgment, but a love that will, in the end, make all things well?